Hello, beautiful people. I'm Lisa Murray from Creative Alchemy, and this is our convo on creating connections and creative connections. Now, before we go too far, I just want to share the link to the event so that people know we're on, and then I'm going to be chatting more to you. So just give me a second and I will do that. Makes it easy for everyone to find. All right, it's all on. So. What, wow, this conversation about creative connections. Hey, Teresa. It is one of those things where and for everyone else, just know that unless you make a comment, I don't always know you're there. So if you want to actually have me know you're there, yeah, make a comment. It's a really useful thing. Now, this conversation, it kind of started in my head this morning because I was just looking at how much of my creations and how many of my ideas have been made the better because of having a conversation with someone, and because we're very, very good at running all our ideas around and around and around and around in our heads. And then there's this moment that where if you actually have the conversation with other people, that this magic occurs. Now, I'll give you an example from today, actually. And this is not for me, but it was for one of the people in my writing hangout today. Now, she has been procrastinating on her website for months, she told me. And she came on the writing hangout, and just within a few minutes, in what she told me, I could just see an entire model of how she could literally create her business with so much more ease. And so I said to her, hey, have you looked at it this way? Here's a model, here's a formula basically for, presenting your work in a way that will be really practical and easy for people to understand. Now, that little conversation, it's probably less than 5 minutes in total, totally changed the possibilities for her business in so many different ways. And she's very excited. And it also totally changed how she was going about the writing. And this is the thing. If we are willing to receive a contribution from other people, if we're willing to open ourselves up to the places and spaces where that contribution is available, magic shows up, Now, I want to ask, for any of you, if you have questions, anyone who's on, please do just, throw your questions in the chat. But for me, I think one of the very interesting things about having a wide variety of people that I talk to about my ideas is that when I get to a place where it's relatively stuck or slow, or it's just not moving in the way I might like, one of the things I do is go, okay, well, who could be a contribution here? Just ask the question. And whoever pops in my mind, I'll often just, send them a message, say, hey, have you got time for a chat? Because often it needs 3 words and then I'm off and running again. And I wonder how often you allow yourself to suffer rather than inviting that contribution. Now, one thing to talk about here is that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to bother someone else. And I used to think this, I used to be worried about bothering people. But I also knew at the same time that my entire corporate career was but it was the catalyst for a lot of the ideas, the catalyst for a lot of the really great things that came from having conversations with other people. Because in the moment of the conversation, you see a totally different possibility, and it might not be even anything in particular that they say. It might not be that they're giving you specific ideas and ways forward, like I did with my friend Lisa today. It might be just that there's an energy there being, or there's I'll often have really random conversations with people. And at the time, we'll be like, yeah, this is a random conversation. Interesting, huh? I won't actually be asking them for help with a specific thing. But what shows up in the random conversation is the aha moment that allows the rest to unfold. Okay? And so what I want to ask you is, are you having enough random conversations? Are you having enough creation conversations? Are you having enough conversations where you're willing to receive from other people? Because so often we have a point of view about what we'll receive and who we'll receive it from. And if we actually let those points of view go, then there's this really beautiful magic that can show up. Like, I will never forget once, many, many years ago, there was a family reunion. And, oops, I've lost my screen. Hold on a second. Press the wrong button. There was a family reunion, and I wasn't that excited about it, let's just say. And I decided that I wasn't going to talk to anyone unless they came to talk to me. And I pretty much put it in the hands of the universe. I said, hey, universe, here's the deal. I'm not too excited about this. Yes, I'll show up. It'll make my mum happy. And if I need to talk to someone, can you please literally hand them to me, give them to me, show them that they need to talk to me. Now, I probably had 3 or 4 really in-depth conversations during that entire weekend, all of which were life-changing for either one of us or both of us. Now, that is the value in allowing, and some of them were with conversations with people I would never have expected to have had those conversations with. So this is the value in actually being really open to, well, who can I have a conversation with that will be a contribution here? Okay. And what I find is that if I have no judgment of who that is, what that is, how it's going to work, then there's this real magic that shows up that it's like allowing the universe to work through you. It's like you've asked for all these other things in your world and your life and your business and your creative ideas. And then when you open the doors to conversations, the universe goes, well, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. And this is the thing of allowing the magic rather than trying to work it all out. So I'm going to give you a little bit of home play just for the fun of it. And that is to ask, well, who could I have a conversation today that would actually create something greater in my world? Okay. And just see who pops into your mind and who shows up. Now, for some of you, it will be a big fat blank because you'll just be going, what? And sometimes the blank is there because there's no one obvious right now. Doesn't mean you shouldn't keep asking the question, and doesn't mean there is no answer or response to the question. It just means now is not the time. Okay. So that's one part of this whole thing about, infusing your ideas with creative connections. The next part of it I want to look at is this thing of asking for the people to show up who can help you with specific things. Because I'm like, let me see if I can find a good example for you. Not right now, but there'll be one that'll come. So for me, there's a lot of things where what I would like to know, what I would like to create is a very specific thing. So I will ask for all of the people to show up who can contribute to that occurring with ease. Okay. And so I don't try and work out who I have to meet, what sort of skills they should have. Do they know anything about the thing that I'm trying to do? I'm literally like, well, as I go about my day, who can show up that will allow me to know this information I need to know, or it will allow me to have the awareness of where to get the information. Now, that kind of creative connection comes, and it's not always a conversation in this case, it's more of a thing of just allowing the universe to contribute to you. And that kind of creative connection literally comes from being open and listening really closely to the subtext of everything that's going on around you. Okay? And it also is this thing of allowing the randomness of life to lead you. Let's put it that way. So that's another way to play with this. Now, there's a third way as well, and that is literally joining a mastermind group. Now, why this? And this is a more formalized way. So the first two things I've talked about are very random. It's kind of like, yep, here you go, universe, I'm open, let's see what you got. Then there is this thing about having a mastermind group or having a group of people that you talk to regularly. Now, why is this valuable and why is it different to the other ways? Well, the first thing is that probably a lot of the biggest growth in my business and the biggest changes in my business have often come from those really in-depth conversations that you have with people when they know about your business, when they know you, and they're saying, hey, Lisa, that's not really what you've been talking about these last few months. What's going on here? What is it that you really want here? It's having people who are willing to have your back in such a way that when you start fucking yourself over, for want of a better description, they actually go, no, really, there's another way forward here. And what is it you're not looking at? What is it that you think you've changed your mind about that maybe you haven't. And they can ask you all kinds of different questions. And this is one of the things that I really love masterminds for. Now, I have 2 masterminds besides the ones that I run, okay? Now, so the ones that I am in as a participant, both of those are small masterminds, and they were created because I wanted to have people I could call on. And not only have people I could call on, but have people I trust to call on, okay? So I've chosen the people in those really, really carefully. And it's this thing where they know different things to me. They've got a totally different set of experience to what I've got. And they're willing to call me on my bullshit. Because, we all have a little layer of bullshit that all those really cute stories that we tell ourselves. And what happens is, if you actually have people where they can say, hey, that's what's going on there with that? Is that really what you think? Is that really what you want to do? And sometimes it's saved me from doing some really crazy things where I thought I wanted to do something, but I was really just tapped into everybody else's points of view about what I should do because they would like me to do that because it would work for them. And it wasn't actually what I wanted to do. And this is one of the beauties of a mastermind, is that there's also the beauty of having this sort of combined energy where everyone contributes their energy to everyone's creations, and this also works very well in my writing hangouts, where there's this thing where where everyone contributes their energy. There is this synergistic effect where you actually get to create more, and your creation comes with a lot more ease, basically. So what I am going to invite you to today and, going forward is to really start to look at, well, how do you connect in the world? What kind of connections do you need to allow your creations to thrive? And this may change over time. Like for me, I have a really big diversity of connections. And I'll probably do another Facebook Live a bit later about creating and connecting if you're an introvert, because for me this was one of the things that was entirely challenging, because I would see everybody else connecting, but being so introverted, I did not want to talk to people. And there are some really cool ways past that. And what I would suggest is that you start looking on, that thing of not wanting to talk to people and going, well, is it just that you haven't met the right people yet? That's one thing. Anyway, I'm going to do a separate one about that because it's also quite a big topic, and there's a lot of fun things to talk about in terms of finding the people that are really going to work for you. But for today, I just wanted to start the conversation about this thing, because it's very easy to, sit in your castle and, suffer, basically. It's kind of like, you don't want to be Rapunzel and have your only connection with the outside world being your hair. You actually want it to be a bit of a bigger connection than that, because that's what's going to create your ideas and create your business. And the whole thing about connecting with people also is people can then connect you with other people who can connect you with possibilities that wouldn't have been available otherwise. Okay? And so this is something that a lot of us are really, really just, we don't ask. We don't say to the people we're connected with, hey, do you know anyone who can do this? Do you know anyone who's great at that? And this for me has been one of the greatest gifts of my business, is literally being willing to ask my connections, who do you know, what do you know? Because it always leads somewhere that I haven't been before. And that is how a lot of the creation happens with a lot of ease. Okay, so I just wanted to start this conversation because I feel like, what do you go into a Facebook group for? You go in there to connect. And yet so many of us aren't connecting at the moment, aren't asking, aren't necessarily contributing, and not because we don't want to, but because we haven't got a starting place. So my sort of challenge for you right now today is to connect with 2 or 3 people in this group and actually just either ask a question, have a conversation with them, do something that connects you with people that maybe you don't necessarily always connect with. Go outside of your comfort zone with your connections. When I quit my job about 9 years ago now, I pretty much had, I'd say, about 10 friends. And there was the people I worked with. And that was the extent of my social connections because I was not sociable. I didn't enjoy social interaction particularly. And, you know, even now, I still wouldn't say it's my favorite thing, but I've learned a lot of skills that have taught me ways forward that have allowed me to grow my business without having to suffer too much. So there's this whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing, Teresa, about being overwhelmed in groups. And that's why I'm saying connect with one or two people. You know, or three people, because as you build the connections and you get to know someone a little more personally, which is what the point of the game was that I started a couple of weeks ago, that not many people have played. And it's really interesting because for me, it's like in getting to know people, you get to see what their brilliances are. You get to see what their magic is. And that actually for me is the beautiful thing about connection with people. And what I realized was a lot of social interaction doesn't give you that because it's all surface level conversation. But when you actually find more meaningful ways to connect with people, when you find deeper questions to ask them, that's when the magic shows up, because you get to see people in a completely different way than what they may present on the surface in their social interactions. So I wonder what it would be like if you started to be in the question about what connections you can make in the course of your day. And instead of suffering it out or trying to work it all out by yourself, what would it be like if you just popped into this group or another group, depending on where you are, what you need, and actually asked a question that would allow people to contribute to you? Because this is the thing that we are taught, we have to be independent, and it's just not true. And in fact, we create with much greater possibilities if we create together. So that's my invitation to you for today. If you would like a list of questions that I ask, because I do have quite a list of questions, and there's a few that are pretty regular kinds of ones. If you would like that, I'll put a link in the, in the, what do you call that thing? I'll put a link there for you anyway. And I've lost my words. And if you are curious about masterminds and you'd like to chat with me about how I run masterminds, whether a mastermind would be a great fit for you in terms of what you're creating at the moment, I'll also put a link there for that, because I'm about to start a new series of masterminds. And, they are a way to get to know people in a much more personal way and a much more in-depth way without it feeling like that overwhelm. So I'll put both of those links in the chat, and if you would like to explore them, feel free. And if not, just play in the group and actually just start sensing what contribution other people can be to you. If we were meant to do things alone, then we would have been put on our own planets. We'd each have our own little planet whizzing around the universe. So there's actually a reason that we're all here together, okay? And the together is the thing that we need to give a little more energy to. Not so we can get lost in everyone else's worlds, but so that we can create our own with more ease. So I hope that's been helpful. And yeah, if you've got questions, yell out to me and let's see what we can create. Alrighty, have a really beautiful day. I am actually now off to play in one of my masterminds, which is very thrilling for me because there's lots to talk about today. I've had a huge week of creation, so lots of magic coming up soon. Yeah, so have a great day, adventure, night, whatever it is for you, and play with this idea of connection out of your comfort zone and just see what shows up, because you might be surprised at how much more ease you can have with connecting if you're just willing to ask a question. All right, see you later. Have a fun day. Bye.